I stole hundreds of dollars from stores to cover up where my money was going when I was a drug addict, and I've never told anyone. I will preface this saying I am sober now and doing better, but what I did when I was an addict is something I could never tell my family. So I became addicted/abused ecstasy. People say it isn't addictive, but I have never struggled more getting sober. Even nicotine and weed were easier. After a few months of using, my mom started asking what I was spending my money on, as she could see my bank account being empty all the time. I panicked and said I bought makeup, and she believed me. The next day I went to H&M and proceeded to steal more than $100 worth of merchandise. I showed my parents what I had bought, and that was the end of the conversation. The following months I would steal every time I was out: makeup, clothes, food, electronics. Anything I could show them to keep their suspicions away. My addiction got bad soon later, and I ended up in the hospital, and now I'm 3 months clean. The guilt is still there, and I still have drawers of stolen stuff I can't bring myself to use. This is a secret my family cannot find out, as they are already so disappointed in me because of the drugs. I am so thankful I never got caught. Anyways, that was my confession. Maybe some of you can relate.
What is something you did once, and never again? I stayed at my sister's place one night, and we for the life of us couldn't find the vacuum cleaner to blow up the spare mattress. So I hit on the bright idea of using the car exhaust to blow up the mattress. Back then the car used leaded petrol. As a rule, I sleep with the windows and door closed, so damn lucky. Woke up next morning in hindsight, luckily with the mattress a half flat and the room smoggy, but being low to ground near door. The draft under it keep me alive again in hindsight. Hung over and zipped my zipper before I was ready. Mixed milk and orange juice because I thought it would taste like a creamsicle, not make me projectile vomit. Carolina Reaper infused gummy bear. I almost called for an ambulance. Legitimately thought I was going to die covered in sweat, poop, and vomit. Put pizza wrapped in foil in the microwave when I was 10, thinking it will warm up quicker. It surely did by lighting on fire 3 seconds after I turned it on. Tried to intervene during a street fight. Got popped for mitrables. Assumed the green stuff on the sushi tray was avocado. Fried bacon naked.
I just threw my autistic son of 30 years onto the street. No regrets. He is mid-high functioning. In middle school, he was, I would say, about above average. He was a math prodigy, made up his own language, aced his classes, and was a whiz, although socially stunted. Then puberty hit, he stopped going outside, and he started destroying his and me and the wife's property. We loved him enough to let it slide though, and he lived with us along with the occasional stay at a psych ward. Yesterday he killed our family cat after having a meltdown due to us trying to take his computer away after me and my wife caught him looking at anime hentai of girls who looked to be about 5. He threw my prized high school football trophy, wherein I won state, at the poor thing, causing its skull to split and its brains to spill out. I just about had it with them, wailed on them, threw him on the curb, and tossed his computers and gaming systems with him and told him if he ever came back I would kill him. Haven't seen him since. Shoplifted at the grocery store out of sheer hunger and desperation. Several months ago, my husband and I hadn't eaten in a day and a half. Bills to the ceiling, broker than broke. We were starving. Told him I'd go to the grocery store and get us some stuff for the next few days until one of us got paid. They had a buffet to go bar. We had $15 combined in our checking account and the power was scheduled to be shut off the next day. The food was priced by weight in the to-go container. It was a lot of food. I mean a lot. Enough to get us both through 2 to 3 days. Meats, chicken, beef, salads, veggies, fruit, pasta, cheese, I mean whatever I could stuff in that box. Could barely keep it closed. Had to carry it with 2 hands. I had a plan but didn't know if it would work. But I had to give it a go. I set it down on the scale at checkout. $47. I panicked. Silently. But quickly made a swift decision. Picked the box up, so the screen would clear. Then barely touched the box down on the scale. I mean barely. Only the corner touching. Keeping the other hand under it so it looked like the box was just sitting there. $5 and change. Quickly moved it to the bagging area. Never picked up my head to look around as to not draw attention. Had to double bag it, it was so heavy. Slid my card praying it wouldn't decline. Success. Ditched the receipt and came straight home. We ate in the dark for the next 2 days and gave our dog scraps. I paid someone to write my admissions essay and now I'm heading to campus tomorrow morning. Okay guys, I know I'm going to get some hate for this one, and rightfully so. I'm not looking for anyone to make me feel better, I just want to vent and I'm too afraid to tell my mom. Early this year I was stressing out hard about college admissions. My mom and dad didn't go to college, immigrants, so I was going to be the first one in our family to go. They wanted me to apply to more than 10 colleges, some of them truly elite. Between work, school,
COVID, volunteering and so much other shit, I barely had time to sleep let alone write admissions essays for that many universities. I was suffering from severe writer's block, and I was talking to my friend about it. They told me there's a website that can write essays for you and they'd used it before. Not for admissions, but for some econ homework and stuff. Anyway, I honestly thought all writing services were known scams. I'd seen TikToks about people getting scammed or lied to. But she swore this service was different and so I figured I would at least consider it. It's called Killer Papers. Anyway, long story short, I ended up working with one of their writers who helped me answer 3 of the questions for the Common App and I was blown away. It was way better than anything I'd written before, even with AP Lit being on my resume. I still remember submitting the questions like they were a risky text and practically slammed my laptop shut after hitting submit. Almost 9 months later, I'm moving in tomorrow. I know a lot of kids cheat, but the guilt has been tearing me up. Just glad to get this off my chest.
6 years ago I switched my wife's cat with a more well-behaved look-alike. 6 years ago, I swapped my then-girlfriend now wife's cat with a more well-behaved look-alike. She had an all-black cat that was extremely aggressive. It scratched everyone, hissed at everyone, and didn't use its litter box half the time. My wife insisted she could get it to behave better. One week she went out of town to visit her family and I was supposed to go to her apartment and feed it. The first night I went over, it scratched the shit out of my arm. I joked to the cat that it's not special and I'll replace it if it scratches again. The joke stuck with me until I had thought about it enough that it wasn't a joke. The next morning I went to the local animal shelter. Found an identical cat who was already litter box trained and acclimated to people, but was a little skittish. Its old owner died of a heart attack and the animal shelter people said they think that's why it was skittish. But overall, it was a lot friendlier and better behaved, and the skittishness would help it resemble the original cat. So I adopted it, took it to my wife's apartment, settled it in, then drove her original cat to an animal shelter a town over. I was paranoid my wife would find out if I took it to a local one. It's been 6 years since then. We got married 4 years ago. We still have the swapped cat. It answers to the original cat's name. My wife knows nothing. She loves this cat and brags about how much better behaved it is. Every time I see it, I feel like a total piece of shit. Edit, for the people saying the other cat was likely euthanized by the shelter, I just double-checked and the shelter I dropped it off at was and still is a no-kill shelter. I spent 9 years addicted to meth and used to let my drug dealer and his friends fuck my ass in exchange for drugs. My wife doesn't know. I don't know how to tell her or even say it out loud. I thought he was my friend but I see now I was literally a piece of meat to him. We were together for almost 10 years. I don't really think I'm gay, I think I was just so addicted to meth that I didn't care as long as I got more. I started at 19 and got hooked. I ended up losing everything. My relationship with my parents because I stole from them and was just an asshole overall, my friends, my girlfriend at the time, my job, my dignity and self-respect. After about a year or so once I lost my job and got kicked out he offered to let me stay there. I didn't have any money for drugs and I remember begging him for a fix and he told me to suck his dick so I did and he gave me some meth. Eventually it evolved into me getting regularly gangbanged in exchange for drugs. This went on for about 7 years until one day he had a heart attack and died at 42. I was homeless for a time and eventually got help, went to a shelter and rehab, got clean, got a normal job and met my wife. I've tried to tell her so many times but I've always been so scared she'd leave me. We've been married for 7 years and have 2 wonderful children and we're so happy. I've never told anyone in my life about my past or even said the words out loud. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I even want to. I just try to forget my shame and I don't think I'm strong enough to tell her. I'm such a coward.